Good afternoon. This is Herb Keener with Keys to Living. Well, last week I talked to you about the churches and the problems that they have in them and pretty much a negative program. But what I want to do today is talk about how do we get through all this mess that this world is in? How do we individually become survivors and not become victims of what's going on in this life? And we take the words right out of the Bible that about peace, in Mark 4:37, it talks about what Jesus did in a storm. Here we have these disciples, they're scared to death, and it begins to look like they're going to perish, and Jesus is asleep in the back of the boat. So they're talking to one another. Well, surely he doesn't care whether we live or die. He's sleeping during this time, and the boat's filling up with water. So they don't understand what's going on. Well, I'm going to read to you Mark 4:37. That'll give you an idea of where we're started. And it says, "And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship so that it was now full." In other words, the ship filled up. The water was completely inside the boat, and they were fixing to go down. And so they panicked. They went back and they woke up Jesus. Said, man, what's the deal here? Do you care whether we live or die? And so he talked to them about their lack of faith. And he rose up and said these three words: "Peace, be still." And so let me read the verse that talks about the repercussions of that. Matthew 4:39. "And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm." Now think about this. Now we have so many storms in our life, winds, flooding, and whatever have you. But the storms in our life can be treated exactly the same as that. It involves faith. And don't think for a minute you're escaping any of these issues that we're fixing to talk about, because number one, we'll always have storms in our life. There'll be good times, but there's bad times. There's times that we need to call upon the Lord, pull our faith together. We're in a time right now of this world. Nothing is united. Everything is separated. We're separated because of race. We're separated because of gender. We're separated because of financials. We're separated because of disagreements on political forms, and everything has sides, and now we have 5 or 6 sides to each thing. Used to is either this way or that. Now it's either this way, that, and some others. So the world is divided more than ever now. But see, peace in the Greek language means silent or mute. And then be still means to muzzle, in order to control. In other words, to have it under control. So peace, be still means to be silent and stop doing what you're doing. And just let the power of God work. And this is what Jesus did. It didn't matter what the storm thought. When he said, "Peace, be still," immediately the wind stopped. Immediately the ocean subsided. And I'm sure they bailed out the boat and no other water was coming in. So now they knew they was going to live. And then they were astonished. They said, "Oh my, what manner of man is this?" They talked to a storm and caused it to subside. Well, the many storms in our life today, And I know without a doubt I'm going to touch on something that's going on in your life because by studying for this, I touched on many of mine. Storms in our life. Now, there is emotional, mental, medical, political, and then there's weather itself. You know, the weather itself can cause depression, can cause anxieties. I remember years ago, I had this person come to me, and it had been foggy and overcast for weeks. And they come to me and they said, Herb, take me somewhere where there's sunshine. I said, well, what do you mean? They said, no, I just need to be in the sunshine. I can't stand it anymore. I can't take what's going on. So there was a place on the other side of Stockton, quite a ways away, and it generally when I went there, it was always sunny because it was up on a mountain. Paradise is the name of the town, and so I took this person and headed up. Got up there to Paradise, and it's fogged in and slogged in. Had to wait 2 days to see a sunshine crack through, but that seemed to be sufficient for them to take care of what they were feeling. They just needed to see the light. They needed to see some peace, some joy. And when you get muzzled down with fog and overcast and rain and for day in and day out, it becomes depressing. So the storms in our life, like I say, is emotional, mental, medical, political, and the weather itself. Because today, people are out of control, restless, and confused. If you don't think so, just look at the news. Look at the idiotic things that people are doing in the name of whatever. You know, people murdering people and then getting out because COVID took over the prison or took over the jail. You know, I just read yesterday in Fresno where this man committed a murder, and they let him out on his own recognizances because there was a COVID problem. But they rectified that the first time he showed up for court. They took him back into custody. And now, how crazy is that to let a murder go until he shows up for court? So the DA figured out what he had done wrong, and he rectified that by rearresting him and put him in jail. And well, as far as I'm concerned, $50,000 bond, that was pretty lenient anyway for murder. But that's the kind of things we're looking at today. Kids are killing kids. Kids are killing parents. Parents are killing kids. It's just going crazy out there. People are absolutely out of control. And they're restless. They're looking for something to do, and crimes are up, and everything is up that has anything to do with crime and stuff like that. So what we need to look at today is where is part of the sanity. Number one, the first storm area that comes into a human's life is emotional. You know, deaths in the family, or friends, a divorce, worry over what your unruly children are going to do, your child's education, things are so out of whack now, spouse's actions, you know, jealousy. Jealous is one of the worst. I call it a cancer because it's like having a monster inside of you and it can't get out. And it starts eating at you, eating at all your thoughts. And then the other thing is reaction to gossip. Now, gossip needs to be put where it belongs, ignored. That's exactly where that needs. Who cares what other people think? You need to cut that loose and not get caught up with it. Now, if you're one of those that are so jealous you can't stand it, you need to seek help, because that will not only destroy your marriage, it'll destroy your life. Jealous, it comes from this. It comes from low self-esteem, lack of confidence, and anxiety, and insecure in what you're to do. You can't make up your mind then. And you don't trust your spouse. And they angry when they mention somebody else. In other words, you mention say a lady's name and it's a man, or you mention a man's name and it's a lady. They get angry. And then, number one, you think they're cheating. And then you think they're trying to control you. Those type of thoughts, if you're dealing with that kind of thoughts, you need to get help. Number one, jealousy is a cancer. You wouldn't embrace cancer, so why would you embrace jealousy? Being jealous is absolutely the worst thing there is for a marriage. Because, see, jealousy actually boils down to the fact you don't trust that person. Or jealous of being, somebody has something that you can't afford or you can't have or you can't get, and you're not able to do anything about it. Now, if you think on that and dwell on that, it'll eat you alive. You need to search your memory banks and you need to you need to talk to someone about that and say, I have these thoughts of being jealous. And being jealous could be anything. Your neighbor's got a better looking car than you do. The house is painted redder. There's a number of things. And if that's coming into effect, you see, and what you need, and that goes back to this. If you got jealousy in you, do what Jesus did. Peace, be still. Number one, stop. And number two, just quit it. Be quiet, sit down, back off from it. Jealousy is a form of cancer. It will eat at you. It will cause you, it'll cause you to worry. It'll cause your heart to worry. It'll cause you to be anxious, which anxiety causes you to deal with your heart. So whatever you do, the emotional side, like if you're worrying about how am I going to get my children in this education? What's going on with education now? See, that's another thing. You don't worry about those things. You do something about them. You do what you can do, and then you stand. If you're a Christian and you're standing strong on faith, you just do what you can do and then stand and say, Lord, it's yours. From that point on, you cannot change some things in your life. And you know that prayer about the serenity prayer, Lord, give me the wisdom to know what to change, how to change, where to change. And then the strength to change. That's the same thing. And God says, do what you can do and then stand. Don't just stand and be lazy. Stand on the faith that He is going to make it okay. And the same way with all the other things, the reaction to gossip. The best reaction to gossip is to act like it didn't happen. Don't give it any credence. Don't allow anybody to get into it. Because emotions is what causes your life to be miserable if you embrace the negative. Emotions like being overwhelmed by loving somebody or somebody loving you, that's fine. But being emotional over something you can't change or something you can't do, that's putting your body in a condition of disrepair. You need to stand strong on faith and live. Enjoy life because, number one, we're not going to be here forever. Enjoy. Don't let emotional distress come into your life. Peace. Peace means silent and mute. So when we're yakking about everything we're miserable about, the Lord's saying, have peace. Back off. Don't worry about it. Because when it comes to that, there can be no harm to you for ignoring ignorance of other people. So the emotional side of the storms in our life are terrible, but they are repairable. You can repair them. You can stop. You can turn left. You can turn right. You can get away from it. And if you've been running your mouth all the time about what somebody else is doing to you, you just stop. Don't do it anymore. Just stop. So what I'm going to do in the next segment is we're going to talk about more of the storms we have in our life. God bless.
JKH Career Coaching and Consulting, creating solutions in career planning, development, training, and placement. Contact Jackie Kennedy Harris at JKH Career Coaching and Consulting at jkhccc.com or call 559-307-7712.
I'm back. Okay, we were talking about peace, be still. About a verse that Jesus tested the faith of his disciples. And naturally, they didn't, like most people, we didn't pass the test. But the reality become this, that peace be still means everything's going to be fine. And that's the power that Jesus has over the universe. It doesn't matter what kind of problem. And if you're living for Christ and you're walking in Christ, you're fully developed in the faith of Christ. That same power is empowered in you. All you have to do is do what you can do and let God do what he can do. And he can do anything. Now, there's certain things he expects of us, and then we have to do that. Then we stand and say, okay, Lord, I believe in you. I believe this to be well. I mean, I have a lot of issues in my life the same way. These storms, we're talking about storms in our life. Man, you talk about storms in our life. I had a tornado a couple of weeks ago, and then an emotional hurricane. So I know without a doubt what that is. I didn't stand on the faith. I was too busy out there trying to do something. Then finally I realized everything I do just made it worse. So finally I had to stop and say, okay, Lord, now I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Then it's on you. Well, then I had my peace. I had my peace. It was settled. It's not a big deal. Some things are not a big deal that we make a big deal. You know, things, I'm dealing with a cell phone issue where they charged me more money than what they said they was going to charge. And I go back to them. And then, anyway, back and forth. Finally, this morning I wake up and I say, what's the difference? Even if I end up paying the higher amount, so what? I have lost more money on other things than that. Why would I put that as it was consuming me because these guys are shafting me and I can't do anything about it. I can complain and go on. Then all of a sudden I realize I'm complaining to the wrong people. I need to be telling the Lord, all right, I've told them my side of the story. Now I need to shut up. That's called peace be still. Peace means quiet. And then be still means to be muzzled. So I'm done then. Then the rest of it is God. I can only do so much. And besides that, who cares? How much? I mean, if they deal badly with me, they're dealing badly with God if I'm serving God. Their payday will be a lot worse than what I lose. So, whether it's intentional or unintentional, God knows all about that too. And if I have to pay extra money, so be it. Big deal. Why get all anxious and all tore up over a stupid bill that has to do with a cell phone? Come on. Because life has more things to be upset about than that. I began to look and I watched the news. And mainly I watch for it so I can pick up some positive things about the elderly because that senior moment thing, I love to bring them in. I have one that for the ending of the program that is a powerhouse. But as I look, I see man shot here, woman shot in the head, stray bullet, child dies from gunshot. I mean, every single day. So we've got to stand fast on faith. If we don't stand fast on that, what are we going to stand on? What's going on in the world? That can't be right. We need to stabilize who we are, what we're to do, and just do it. If we die in the process, there's a verse in the Bible that said to be absent from the body is to be in the presence of the Lord. So what's the difference? Live, enjoy, love, care. Enjoy the people in your life. I told you in the other program, I don't remember whether it was the First Keys to Living or whether it was one of the senior moments, but I don't have a problem making friends. I have a problem keeping them. That's because my peace be still gets all busy on things I'm not supposed to deal with. You see, you just can't go tell people what you really think, because if you do, you're going to lose all your friends. That's basically what it is, and I don't have a problem with that. I do fine. My wife and I, we get along fine, and we're blessed. And if there's only 2 people at my funeral, that's okay. But what I'm telling you, after 81 years on this planet, I have learned a thing or two. I have been hurt. I've hurt people. I've focused on things that really don't matter. Then I didn't focus on things that did matter. So what are we to do? How are we to seek our peace? Our peace doesn't come from us. That's why. Our peace comes from God. And if you think for a minute money's going to give you peace, you're wrong. Money and peace is a blessed thing, because if you have peace and you have money, man, you are a blessed person. Generally comes with money is worrying about somebody taking it from you, worried about somebody cheating you out of it, worried about somebody taking more than their share. So what I'm telling you is today you need to start saying, man, where's my peace? Where's it at? Just start looking to where it's at. And then once you find where it's at, then you need to determine how to get there. Is it under the mat? Is it in the toilet? Whatever it is and wherever it's at, it belongs in your heart. It doesn't belong outside your body. You have to deal with peace like you deal with your children, with love, compassion, peace. It just, no matter how much noise is going around you, no matter how much conversation is going on, you're in a quiet place in your heart and in your mind. See, that's what you're looking for. Then if you have $1 million and you're at peace, man, you're in good shape. And if you have peace and you're broke, you're in good shape. What makes the difference? The peace. Nothing else of this world matters. You get peace inside of you, you can start loving your children, and children start loving you. You can start loving your wife, and your wife loving you. Because I know, because of the divorce rate is so astronomical that it's just craziness, that there's millions of people out there that if you threw a rock in the midst of 10 people, you're going to hit somebody that's divorced. So what I'm telling you is, back off. Jealousy is a killer. We just talked about that. Don't let jealousy be part of you. Who cares what the other person's got? When you're dead, you're dead, you know. If you went to the morgue and you found a person that was of the street, and you found a billionaire naked on the slab, there's no way you could tell the difference between the two unless somebody told you. So that makes everything else not worth too much. So what you need to do today, the emotional, we talked about that. You know, death in the family, your friends, your divorce, worrying about your unruly children, child's education, spouse's actions, and reaction to gossip. Now, how many times has your spouse, male or female, you said something to them that, they took the wrong way, and the next thing you knew, they're mad. Well, you compound it by being mad also, then both of you's mad. Now, where's your peace there? Nowhere, and nowhere close. So peace begins with being careful what comes out our mouth, and being careful of who's standing there when it comes out of our mouth. Now, if you want to talk stupid and crazy and cuss somebody out, you get out in the middle of a field. Excuse me. Get out in the middle of a field and just have at it. And then you'll get it all out of your system. Then you come home, you won't be in there bothering your spouse with things that don't mean anything. I promise you that if you back up a problem between a spouse and theirself, if you back that problem up, it began with absolutely something of no value whatsoever. So the emotional part of the storms in your life, you need to be aware of. Sometimes we're not aware. We just react. So many times I have run my mouth and I still see the vapor from the words that I wish I had them back inside my throat. But it's too late. Once they're out there, they're out there. So the emotional part, you can't let what happens in the world conflict with your emotions and cause you to react in a negative way. Now, the next one is mental. You know, and by mental, I don't mean there's something wrong with your brain or anything. It says our own thoughts can become our worst enemy. What if I can't support my family? Is it true what people say about me? No one likes me. I'm not able to pay my bills. All of those things begin to come into your mind. If you're working on something and it's not working out, and you say, oh my goodness, I'm wasting my time. Here's what I do, and nobody's going to like this, and this isn't going to be good. We begin to mentally formulate a problem in our head that hasn't even occurred yet. I can tell you myself, I went to take care of a tragic, terrible thing many times. And I'm thinking, how bad is this going to be? Oh, man, this is going to be terrible. It's going to be, I'm already formulating in my head what I'm going to say, who I'm going to say it to, what they're going to say back to me. I already had it all rehearsed. It was going to be the most miserable time I ever had. I got there, situation was beautiful. Everything was good. Nothing was bad. Everything went smoothly. Then on the way back from those times, I thought, wow, I created a problem where there wasn't any. I created a forum of ignorance when there wasn't any. I built this scenario up that didn't even exist. It only existed in my mind. The mental part will keep you down if you allow yourself to think bad thoughts, negative thoughts. You need to start thinking about the positive. And I'm sure you can't look too far to see something positive in your life. And if you don't, then that means there's probably a problem with you, not with them. So it's time to take in consideration, what do you have to do in order to become that person that walks in peace instead of troubles and problems and issues, always an issue. I know people that if they don't have an issue in their life, they go make one up. They strive on negative, they strive on problems, they strive on issues. They've always got to be in a turmoil situation, no matter how good their life is. They create this turmoil. Whether, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I don't know if this is because they need the attention of the negative or what. But the mental part of it is the worst part, because you can think of everything to be bad no matter how good it is. Next segment, we're going to talk more about storms in your life. God bless. I'm back. Now we're talking about storms in our life. Now we all have storms. And for you that has probably lost a child or lost a loved one, saying that I don't know how you feel, well, that's about as far away from the truth as it could be. In 1996, I lost my son, who was 36 years old. That was a great storm in my life. It was one of the worst times of my life. I lost a 33-year-old daughter-in-law to cancer. That was a storm, a terrible storm. I lost a niece to a car accident. That was a storm. So these things are devastating, but there's two things that we can get through these. Number one, that there's God. And number two, there's time. With God and time, we get past these. My son has been gone for over 20 years. I buried both my brothers this last couple of years. So I know of what I speak about the pain and the storms in my life. But I never lost faith in who I serve. I mean, that wasn't the issue. People live and die every single day. And there's travesties that go on, youngsters leaving this world way too soon because of gang violence and because of guns and because of drugs. And, you got to figure out how far down the food chain you are. Now, I would change all these things if I could. But see, I'm so far down on the food chain, it doesn't matter what I think. I'm not going to change anything. So all I hope to do is to get one of you to quit being so negative in your life just because you got hurt or just because you were a victim of some kind. Because if you're still living, you're still talking, you're no longer a victim, you are a victor. You have overcome. If you're still here on this planet, you've overcome whatever you were a victim of. And there's always someone that had a greater injustice than you had, always. And I want you to know that all I want to do and try to do is to get people to quit walking the positive lane and quit walking the negative lane and get into the positive lane. You're already doing that negative lane. I do it myself, and it takes a little bit to get back on like the word says, you got to get on that straight and narrow. There's not room for flexibility. Now, you get out there in the world, you can do anything you want. You got a 20-lane highway you can cruise on. Now, when you're talking about being a person of Christ and being a person of stature and of integrity, now there's a thin road there. You can't do all this promiscuity and all the ugliness of the world and then come back and say what a great person you are. People getting busted every day for talking about how righteous they are, and the next thing you know, they get arrested for something that is just totally out of your mind to think about. So you, individually, one person, look inside of yourself. Are people happy when I come? Are they smiling, then they see me, then they got a frown? Now, if that's the case, it's not them, it's you. Because if they're happy before you come and then they're sad after you get there, something's wrong. You're doing something wrong. Now, if they're just idiotic people, that's another thing. In first place, you don't belong there. But if you want to be somewhere that you don't feel comfortable when you get there, change who you are. Change what you do. Don't let the storms in your life cause you to be somebody you really don't want to be. Because maybe your mother done it, maybe your father done it, maybe the uncle you looked up to done that. So if they done that, I'm going to do that. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to say what I've learned. Yeah, you might do that, and you might die alone also. It's a joy to love people, and it's a joy to be loved. I don't care what anybody tells you. Don't think for a minute everybody's perfect, because they're not. Nobody is. But there's good people. There's caring people that get diverted because of the things of the world. The road is narrow. So you got to pull in your thoughts. You got to say, well, I can't speak my total mind, because number one, if you're forever going around telling what's wrong with everybody else, that means you must not have too much self-esteem for yourself, or you must not feel good about yourself. Get to feeling good about who you are. I mean, I had to remind myself a number of times, especially when I dealt with somebody that I thought really loved me, and it turned out that they were just there for whatever reason, whether it was for something or whether they just getting entertained by me. I don't know. I kind of think that sometimes my closest friends were close to me because they were just getting entertained for the dumb stuff I done. And that's a possibility. I haven't counted that out yet. But the key thing is this: I quit giving them information to do that. Then you don't have to worry about them being around to get entertained, because when you quit entertaining them, they take off. Finances, is an issue in relationships that you want to stay away from for your friends. Enjoy your friends. Don't use them. Don't abuse them. Don't let them abuse you. Peace is what we're talking about in a time of a storm. And we're in one of the biggest storms there is right now. The whole planet is in this storm. Now that we've talked about emotionals and mental, well, the next thing is medical. Now, if you don't have enough to worry about, COVID's here. Then they've got all these new things coming up, too. And when they run out of names, they just pick another name. Here we are. We got another one, and it's going to be worse than the one before. I mean, it never ends. I don't care. This Omicron or whatever it is, when that's over, before it's totally over, there'll be something there's cystochrome, racetone. They'll come up with everything in the world to keep you inside a bubble to preserve the idiocy that's going on in this world. I mean, I don't know. I don't have an opinion on whether it's true or not, because I told you before, I'm too far down the food chain to have enough information to know what's right and what's not on the national level. I barely can hang in to the level that I live in today. But what I'm telling you, that where we live today, those of us that are so far down in the food chain, we don't really have the power to change anything other than our own mind. That's what we need to do, is change our own mind. And, because the medical thing can go like this. Will I be healthy? Can I maintain what I do? Am I able to work? Am I going to be able to work? I mean, these things will come in your head, and it just comes into, what if I get this disease? What if the sky falls? You remember that one? Who's going to care for me? See, there's where you need to be taking care of the people around you, because they may be the people taking care of you in your old age. Now, if they're not around, then you're going to be by yourself in your old age, and you can read in the paper every day about how that turns out. People getting abused in the homes and things like that. Then you get to think about, well, I can't pay my bills. They'll take everything. Well, you don't need anything. You need peace. Peace is where it's at, whether you're in a crowd of people or whether you're alone. Peace is what you need. It's nothing to do with the worldly things. Sure, a nice, big, beautiful home is great. Great, big, nice car is great. But a little shack and a little old pickup or a little old car is just the same. Excuse me. When peace comes, it doesn't matter how big your house is. It doesn't matter how good looking your car is. And peace is where everything lies. Your health, even your wealth. If you've got peace on you, you can figure out a way to make money if that's your goal. A lot of people I know that making money isn't the goal. It's just enjoying this life. and through enough money just to get you by. When I leave, I don't plan on leaving much, and because I love to spend and I love to do, and so if I do and spend until I die, I won't have anything to leave. But I tell you what, I'm getting the peace that I'm telling you about, and that's greater than any goal I've ever had in my life. And don't think for a minute you can't get too busy to seek out peace, because you can. You got to wake up to the fact, is this life treating me like I want it to? Am I treating my family like I want to? Are they treating me like I want them to? See, love doesn't need any conversation. It just needs actions. It needs communication. It needs caring. It just needs love. If you go to someone that's in a hospital and they're fighting life and death disease, or fighting life and death, what do you think they desire the most? New car? New house? I think not. They're desiring love. They want the peace of that love. They want peace in their heart, and they want to see the love in your eyes to them. Has nothing to do with the things of this world. So the medical part of the storms can be anything. Worrying about whether you're going to live right, worrying about whether you're going to have enough money to live, worried about whether you're going to live in the right place and not be in a dump where people kick you around. You know what? COVID has cost people their lives. But not only that, but the ones that lived through the COVID, it cost them everything they had. Because it cost you jobs, it cost you integrity, it cost you everything. Because, number one, people getting shot, they don't wear a mask, and then they're getting shot if they do wear a mask. So, I mean, this country's so divided on that it's dangerous to even go out. But see, you don't let that be part of your life. If you've got the peace of Jesus Christ, you can go out and do anything you want, and God is going to help you to make it back home safe. And you need to start showing compassion and love for those that do have that. I mean, I had the COVID. I went through a miserable time of it. 2 or 3 weeks, I didn't think I was going to live. And my wife had it at the same time, and she's up doing dishes and working in the yard and doing all kinds of stuff. And I was thinking, wow, what's the difference? See, it can be twofold. When I come back, God bless.
JKH Career Coaching and Consulting, creating solutions in career planning, development, training, and placement. Contact Jackie Kennedy Harris at JKH Career Coaching and Consulting at jkhccc.com or call 559-307-7712.
Back. Okay, we're going to wrap this up about Peace Be Still, because I've got a little news item for you about the senior citizen, about the senior moment part that we wanted to keep in here. Now, we've talked about all of the, well, not all of them, but the emotional, the mental, the medical. Now I want to talk about the political. The storm in our life, if we let politics become in our head and begin to figure out what's going on or how we're going to deal with it, that's a storm, and it's going to brew in your head, and it'll keep you. And number one, if you mention to somebody what you believe politically, you're set for an argument. You're set for a downright punch out. So what you do, the political, again, we're too far down on the totem pole, and we're too far down on the food of life to change what's politically happening. All we can do is do our vote, and that's it, and that's it. Now, it doesn't matter what we say or do, unless we go join a group, and 90% of the time they're probably not in the right anyway, so it doesn't matter. And let them do their stuff. You just don't worry about it, because if you can't change it, don't let it become part of an issue that's important in your life. Now, the questions you normally ask yourself is, will the people in office cause a war? I mean, you could worry about that for days. Man, what about my children? They could end up going to war. We're going to, that kind of stuff. Of course, that kind of stuff is not so much worried about it, because if a war ever breaks out, it won't have anything to do with ground fighting so much. They've already got it in the air and through missiles and all that. And so I don't know anything about that. But see, that's a political item. And the other thing is, will a law be passed that'll take away my benefits? Will a law be passed that stops what I'm able to do now? Am I going to have to do something I really don't want to do? Am I going to do something against my beliefs? That's a political storm that's in your head. And number one, who do you trust? Who can you trust in the political arena? That's the next thing. That's a storm in there. If you allow that to circulate in your brain, it'll contaminate every cell you got. Because once you get there, it's debatable. Everything comes out of your mouth about political is debatable. And when you start a debate, then you're in for it. Every time you see that particular person, I know years back, my brother, he wasn't a Reagan fan when Reagan, but I was a Reagan fan. Oh man, every time I seen him back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, all I had to do is mention Reagan, and I mean, it was on. Me and him were at it. And so that's a political statement is something that will get you into a position you don't want to be in. You'll have to answer for things that you don't know about. 90% of the time you fill in the blanks, whether they're true or not, and that's what the problem is right now in this world. They're filling in the blanks, and they don't even know what the question is. So I remember that my brother's passed on. He's gone, but I'm going to tell you, when it come to that, I was a total Reagan fan, and he wasn't. And sometimes I try not to mention it. Well, he'd bring it up. So that's something that will cause a storm in your life, and you'll look back on it afterwards and say, man, why did I get sucked into that? So a political situation that causes a storm is easy to take care of. Just don't tell them your opinion. If they ask you, tell them you don't have one, and if you do, you want to keep it to yourself. Because it's scary to speak your political mind and not get chewed out for it. So that's something I don't worry about. I don't deal with it because I can't change it. And if I could help people get in office or out of office, then I'd have to deal with it. But my vote, they could care less what I think about it. And they, like I say, too far down the food chain. And so I don't let that be a political storm for me. And that's exactly where it goes. And if you do that, it causes more trials, problems, and issues in your life when you start talking about something you know nothing about. How many people do you think do that? Many. Most of them. Watch TV. Look at the political forum. If something is green before the night's over, there's somebody saying, no, it's yellow. It's nowhere close to green. If someone says it's up before the night's over, someone will say, this is an idiot, it's down. You see, it doesn't matter what you say. There's always someone that has another view on it. Peace be still. That's what Jesus speaks into your life. Peace be still. Let the turmoil stay away. Let the calm come. Don't get caught up in the worldly stuff. Don't get caught up in the ugliness of what's going on in this world. And you can't color it any other color than ugly, what's going on in our political arena today. So I'm going to just leave these 3 words with you. Work on to be a better person. Peace be still. Well, now I want to switch over to this was the most powerful thing I'd seen in a while. This 23-year-old woman graduates college alongside her 88-year-old grandfather. Come on. Now, I mean to tell you, for you folks that's out there between 50 or 40 and 60, and you saying, man, I'm too old to do this, I'm too old to do that, come on. This guy's 88 years old, and he's graduated from San Antonio College with his 23-year-old granddaughter. Come on. Now, they both, starting 2022, as new college graduates. Now, look at that. Isn't that amazing? I mean, you got to tell me, this guy's 88 years old. I don't care if he's in a wheelchair or whether he's not. Look at what he's doing, and what kind of memory is this going to be for her? Man, this is going to be powerful. And you say, well, what is he going to do with a graduate? Who cares? It's the thing is, he got up and done it. It wasn't what he's going to do with it. It was just a desire he wanted to do, and he done it. And the blessing part was his granddaughter happened to be doing the same thing. 88 years old, went for a higher education. Come on, folks. I don't care who you are, what you're doing, what you say. I'm too old. Wow. Now that guy's 88 years old. That's amazing. Now the reasoning behind the why he would do that, who cares? The main thing is this. He done it. In 2016, he started with her, and they both graduated now in 2021. Think about that, my friends. I'm here to tell you, if you walk up to me and you're younger than 88 and you tell me you can't do anything because you're too old, I'm going to throw this story right at you and let you deal with it. Because, my friend, if you don't look at this like something, if this man can do that, I mean, what can you can do anything. Now, and see, and then for those of you that may be handicapped in a wheelchair, notice that he was in a wheelchair and done this. So it's kind of a cover puller. It's pulled your cover to, how old are you? You know? And it's like the story that I heard many years ago that this lady was 66 years old. And there was a 4-year class. And she said, well, I'll be 70 years old with the time I graduate. Well, the person that was talking with her said, well, how would you be if you don't go? How would you be if you don't take that class at the ending of 4 years? she's still going to be 70. This guy didn't take into consideration about the age. He took in consideration a desire to do something that blesses the nation. I mean, the whole nation ought to be looking at this and see this man's not sitting down there drooling out the corner of his mouth watching TV. He's up there getting a higher education. And I implore you to look this up and read the full story of what it's all about, how he decided to do it. When did he know his granddaughter was going to graduate? Man, there's all kinds of questions and answers that could be in there. He was on Good Morning America, so I know you can pull that up anytime on Google or, or YouTube. You can pull the story up. You can watch that GMA and listen to how they felt. The 23-year-old just out of sight. She was blessed beyond measure. How many 23-year-olds is going to give a credence to an 88-year-old person, whether they're their grandfather or not? I'm telling you, this story should inspire the entire nation. Because number one, when you're 88 years old, now I'm 81, and I don't think I want to go do education because I couldn't do anything with it. See, that's not the idea. He was 88. He didn't care what he was going to do with it, but his goal was to do it. So it's not what we do with it. It's how much we desire to accomplish that. Now, see, at 88 years old, he accomplished something that 40-year-olds don't accomplish sometimes. And 23-year-olds go with him. Now, that's amazing. Can you imagine the joy of the granddaughter? She'll have this for the rest of her life. She'll be blessed every time she thinks about it. She'll be blessed every time it's brought up. Then they have the Good Morning America thing that she'll have forever. And so people, I'm telling you, man, at 81, I've got a right to speak about the elderly because I qualify. At 81, I'm sure I qualify. I'm reading in the newspaper people dying at 70, 60, 40, and all those ages, and I'm alive. So that makes me a special person. Every single one of you is a special person if you're alive today. You see, you have been chosen not to go. I mean, I believe I'm ready anytime it's time to go. And the second thing is I don't have any choice about it. But enjoy this earth. Enjoy the people in it. Don't get caught up in the political spectrum. Don't get caught up in the emotional spectrum. Don't get caught up in none of that. Only get caught up in who you are. Are you a good person? If you're not, stop. Change, do something, be a good person. Man, I can look back and I know I wasn't a good person for many years. But I am accomplishing what I never could have done at 81. God bless you. We'll see you next week.
JKH Career Coaching and Consulting, creating solutions in career planning, development, training, and placement. Contact Jackie Kennedy Harris at JKH Career Coaching and Consulting at jkhccc.com or call 559-307-7712.